Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below.
We did an instant reaction on this one yesterday. Indianapolis Colts trading for Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
2 first-round picks. We got to do an instant reaction. We did not get to do, from the Jets' point of view, the second piece of this, which was trading Quinnen Williams. So let's discuss both trades individually here. Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts, 2 first-rounders. The Jets make this move, then they go trade Quinnen Williams, so there's a full rebuild there. We'll talk about the Jets in a minute. From the Colts' perspective, though, what were your thoughts on picking up Sauce Gardner here?
I mean, I love it from the Colts side of things as well. I think he's a great fit for this defense. People will talk about him as just being this kind of classic press man corner, and maybe that's not the best schematic fit in the world for the Colts. I think he's a really good zone corner as well. Certainly if you watch his college tape, he was extremely good at that, maybe even slightly better in college at that than he was in man-to-man. Either way, like his NFL deployment got kind of skewed towards the man-to-man stuff, but I think he's really well suited for his own scheme as well. He's a well-rounded corner, even if he's been playing predominantly man in the NFL so far. And he's young, and his contract's already been done. It's paid up. The bonus is done. Like it's a move for the Colts to win now. Like this is, hey, look, we're actually really good. Nobody thought that was coming, but let's capitalize on it. So you're adding an elite guy at one of the more important positions in the NFL mid-season on a team that already looks like one of the best in football. So that part is great, but it's also a long-term move. Like Sauce is exactly the kind of forward nucleus type of player that you want on the team anyway. So the only downside for Indianapolis is it costs you a couple of first-round picks, but at least one of them is likely to be pretty low, so it's hard to dislike it.
So the Colts have Charvarius Ward currently on IR with his concussion issue. He cannot be reinstated off IR until week 12. They have Jalen Jones, who they just put out there last week. They have Mekhi Blackman, Kenny Moore playing the slot. I mean, if you can get Ward back for the stretch run and having that 1-2 punch of Sauce Gardner and who I just said, Charvarius Ward, that looks legit for the Colts. And remember, they've changed their defense a little bit. They are playing more man coverage than they had previously. Sauce's career is really interesting because I think if you look at some of the advanced metrics, PFF grade, catch percentage against him, pass breakups, he was, say, more elite earlier in his career for the first 2 years. The last couple of years, I think completion percentage against, no matter whether you're using Next Gen or PFF, it's under 50%. Like it's a low completion percentage against Sauce Gardner, but he's got 3 career interceptions.
Yeah.
That's always been his game. So like when you're watching him, he's not like a Derek Stingley who always has those plays where he's in position and high pointing the ball. Sauce is just always in and around the catch point, making things difficult for opposing receivers. And if you watch some of the catches that he's given up this year, he's faced some really good receivers. He was tracking guys like Mike Evans, George Pickens. Pickens beat him deep for a touchdown. Evans got him a couple times. But they're all difficult catches, right? They're all tight window throws. So what Sauce does is allows low completion percentages, makes the quarterback be pinpoint. Yeah, he'll get beaten. So if you looked at the advanced metrics, his yards per reception allowed, they're up over the last couple of years. But at the end of the day, he's making it difficult for quarterbacks and receivers to complete these these explosive passes. And that's something the Colts have been okay at this year, and I think it's a good dynamic to add to that secondary.
Yeah, it feels like that's a little bit like, pressure without sacks. Like people for years were like, oh, what's the play? It's just, they're almost plays. Like what good is a pressure if you're not actually ending the play? You can still complete a pass under pressure. It's like, yeah, you can, but it's harder. And that's the point. Generally, if you get pressure on the quarterback, you're going to take his passer rating down 30. I don't know what the number is now, but it used to be 30, 35 points. So it makes a difference, right? I think the same thing is true for tight coverage. Yeah, you can get the ball in there anyway, right? If you pinpoint pass to Mike Evans, he's going to moss you. You give up a catch. Is that any different from giving up, a 30-yard catch where you just get toasted off the line, you're nowhere near the guy? Well, it is because it made the catch harder. Like you reduced the margin for error that the quarterback and the receiver had by being in tight coverage. And that's the thing that Sauce has done. Certainly this year. I think last year was more of a just bad year, period. But he's in tight coverage fairly consistently this season. And whilst the ball is still getting through more than it did.
In a challenging role, right?
Yeah. And while the ball is still getting through more than it did his first couple of years in the league, he's making it difficult. Like, it is a harder thing for opposing quarterbacks and receivers to make the play than it is against Brandon Stevens, say, in the same defense, right? Because he's closer. So there's value in that. And eventually, I think that type of thing starts to swing back in your direction. Again, a little bit like pressure and sacks. If you get a ton of pressure all the time, eventually the sacks are going to come your way. Like, it's very rare that you get guys that are just, you're that type of player all the time, right? All you do is get pressure and you don't get sacks. Same thing with coverage. I think it's rare you're going to get a guy who is in like lockdown coverage, in your hip pocket all the time, but never makes positive plays on the ball.
And Sauce breaks up about a quarter of his targets across his career. Been pretty consistent all the way back to his rookie season. That is a really high number. Forcing incompletions about a quarter of the time. So yeah, you don't have the interceptions necessarily. Remember way back in 2022, him and Tariq Woolen were battling for Defensive Rookie of the Year, and we're like, man, Sauce has been locked down this entire season. He just doesn't have the turnovers that Woolen has. Woolen's given up some, but he's got the turnovers. We said, hey, I'd rather take 44% completions, all the pass breakups, and lockdown coverage that Sauce Gardner brings to the table. So this is the style of player that he is. I think it's a really good addition for the Colts. There's two dynamics at play, though, that are worth discussing. 2 first-rounders. Mm-hmm. So the Colts, I would say from a team-building effort, how many times have we described them as maybe without high-end star players, but just good, solid across the board? And I would say DeForest Buckner is probably their biggest star player, right? Jonathan Taylor getting back on track this year. So you could call him a star. Laiatu Latu looks like he's getting ready to take that next step. But then you add a star. I'd still say Sauce Gardner is a star, at least has star potential. You add that to the mix. I think that's a worthwhile, discussion there. Plus you have Sauce Gardner in the middle of his mid-20s, where it's not an over-the-hill type of player, but you're giving up 2 firsts. And as I said on the instant reaction yesterday, halfway through the season, that's essentially a declaration by the Colts. We are not in the quarterback market.
Yeah.
Over the next 2 years, that 9 games is enough. That's all we need to see from Daniel Jones. He's probably the guy going forward here for the Colts.
But I think where they are this season is almost like it's a declaration of that anyway, without putting it up in the air. Like, even if, let's say, Daniel Jones right now, or let's say worst case scenario, right? The Colts go through this season, they look really good. They're a contender, and then, touch wood, nothing like this happens. But like Daniel Jones suffers some horrific career-ending injury in the playoffs or whatever, and he's done. Well, what would their solution be anyway? Like, they would have the same low first round draft pick. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a window because you're now good. They don't have a pathway to a new quarterback, even if they want one.
But they're giving up a 27 first round.
Agreed.
Too. It's 2 years of saying we're not in the quarterback market.
But I'm kind of saying, I just don't, if you're this good, you're probably not in the market anyway, even if you wanted to be. So I think that this is just a reality of, Daniel Jones is probably our guy based off what we're seeing right now. The only question is via what contract, right? Do we franchise tag him? Do we give him some sort of hedge deal? Do we, just pay up, right? That's the debate at the moment. But even if he isn't, even if he implodes down the stretch and they want to go in a different direction, it's probably not using those 2 first-round draft picks. They're too low down at this point for them to do any good. So they're probably going some other creative route.
And then we talk about the cap hits. Nothing egregious for Sauce Gardner for another 3 or 4 years. Jason Fitzgerald over the cap. He'll have salaries of $25 million next year, about 25 and 27, 20 and 28, $30 million in both 2029 and 2030. So the salaries are not really jacking up.
And remember,
until 29 or 30.
The upward trajectory of the NFL salary cap. I mean, those numbers, by the time you get to them, are going to look like nothing.
And there's a lot of salary cap control that they have there as far as moving that money around. And then if you add to the mix, the Colts have been really good. When you look at in the middle of a season how much cap space a team has, the Colts have always had a plethora of cap space. So they already have flexibility. So they're making – it's an aggressive move, 2 firsts for a player that helps this year. and in the coming years, right? So you're getting a somewhat cost-controlled, in his prime age-wise. I understand his best seasons have been 2 and 3 years ago at this point. But in his prime age-wise, player that's going to help you not just this year, but in the coming years. It's also one other thing I wanted to mention. Sauce had this theory that if you have a good defense, you don't get called for as many penalties. You almost kind of get a pass.
Yeah.
Right? He got called for 10 penalties in his first 2 years in his career. Then 10 penalties last year when the Jets were really bad defensively. And he's on pace for about 10 this year. It's going to be a fun little A/B analysis. Do you get away with more stuff as a Colt?
Does he instantly
because they're good? In addition to just the idea of, in this world of advanced metrics, of which we've come out of, the player evaluation for corner, if you're using advanced metrics, it's volatile, right? Like coverage metrics fluctuate year to year. So that's from that perspective, if you are trying to get Sauce Gardner from 2 and 3 years ago, of course that's in the range of outcomes and the possibility that he is completely locked down, doesn't give up anything. But over the last couple of years, he's given up far more big plays than he did, in his first 2 years in the league.
I mean, the fact that for his first 2 years in the NFL, like literally the first 2 seasons, at a position that is not that easy to transition into, he was the best cornerback in the NFL. You should, I think, feel pretty good about that based off the fact that he's in his prime right now, still in his 20s, has shown that kind of ceiling. Like, that would be way more important to me than the most recent thing, and not even the most recent thing. Last year was relatively bad, and this year hasn't been his peak either. I think you have to assume that because he showed literally right off the bat elite level play, that's a more important thing. The contract stuff is pretty interesting because, Jason Fitzgerald, as you said, overthecap.com, he's made the point that, look, teams have traded 2 first-round picks before for a guy whose contract needed to be done, not a guy whose contract has already been done, and some of that money has been paid up. So some of the benefits for the Colts on that side of things are really quite good. They've prepaid, $14 million in bonus, so that there's some cash they don't need to pay. His cap hit this year is $625,000, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty useful. And the numbers, like the cash numbers are pretty good and the cap numbers are pretty good for the next few years. It's a relatively cheap deal for a guy who could be the best corner in the NFL if and when he shows up at his best play. So from the Colts' perspective, I really don't see anything other than upside for them.
So nothing but upside other than, you lose the 2 first-round picks. From a Jets perspective, I just want to – let's save the Jets perspective until the other end of the Quinnen Williams deal. We'll kind of lump that in together. That makes sense?
Let's also mention that it turned out that they threw in A.D. Mitchell to this as well.
Oh, yeah. Discuss the A.D. We've talked about A.D. Mitchell a ton on this show. Interesting move from both teams' perspective.
So apparently the Jets in both these trades, Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, basically asked for a throw-in of a former top draft pick that had disappointed. They got Mazi Smith in the Dallas deal. They got A.D. Mitchell in this deal. I love that as process. Both those guys have been massive disappointments in the NFL thus far. The chances are both of them will go down as busts, quote unquote, and they just won't, touch the potential that they theoretically have. But, we've all been doing this long enough to know that there are plenty of guys that a change of scenery or, whatever reason it was a bad fit for the first team, kick the tires on that guy. Because if it does turn out to have been a problem with the original team, even if it's just a chemistry thing, well, then you just got a hugely talented guy for nothing. So A.D. Mitchell is this weird player where he is insanely physically talented, but it just doesn't work so far. And he can't get on the same page as any quarterback, whether it's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. He's constantly at the center of weird screw-ups or being in the wrong place or just missed timings, weird plays, dropping the ball before the goal line, trying to change hands to celebrate the touchdown that he was scoring. Utterly ridiculous stuff. So, it's clearly the Colts have decided it's not working, AD. Take a seat on the bench, bye-bye in the offseason. From the Jets, it's let's bring him in. Maybe he'll still be the same guy, but if he isn't, we just found a receiver that can be talented and be a really good part of this receiving core for basically a throw-in and a trade. So I love that process from the Jets' point of view. I also think, look, I mean, A.D. Mitchell, it doesn't take long to see what there is to like about him. So there's a chance that it works out. It is, however, kind of hilarious that I didn't realize this until this morning, that there's now a whole world of like Jets film Twitter that's out there being like, look at all these plays. A.D. Mitchell's wide the hell open the whole time. This is amazing. We just found a guy. It's like, yeah.
But he was supposed to be running a screen or something,
It's like, it's not quite that simple with A.D. Mitchell.
He's actually not supposed to be on the field on this play. He just jumped out there, whatever.
You can find him open quite a lot. That's not, it's not that simple, trust me.
It is it is so funny because, during draft time, we spend so much time talking about players' athleticism and how, this guy's a deep threat and this is the style, and there's so much nuance to the receiver position. And even the best athletes and movers, remember A.D. Mitchell, he's like floating in the air, catching a huge pass from Quinn Ewers in the college football playoff. You just see the high-end potential from A.D. Mitchell. But if you're not running the 5-yard hitch and converting the route from a go to a hitch against off coverage when you're supposed to, if you're just not in the right place at the right time, you can't see the field. You can't play. It doesn't matter about those high-end plays. And A.D. Mitchell every now and again has a great, big, deep comeback, or, he could be a vertical asset to a team, but you can't have all those negative plays and the number of times that he's adjacent to miscommunications.
Yeah.
We'll say, whether it's his fault or the quarterback's fault, he's involved in so many of those. But if they can tighten them up, I'm with you. Goodbye, low for the Jets.
Even in college, like you watch his tape and you're like, I don't recognize what he's running as a route.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
I don't
so
know
much
what this
precision
is.
to playing receiver. You can't just ad lib and do what you want.
And in college, it was super weird because you're like, it works. Like he's always open, but I don't know what this is. Like,
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is this a Texas thing? Is this an A.D. Mitchell thing? I don't understand what I'm looking at here. And it turns out that's kind of what he is at the NFL level. Like there's a bunch of times where he's running around and he's open. It's like, but I don't really recognize what that is. Like it's not a route that other people are running. He almost, to that degree, it's a little bit like, remember Stevie Johnson for Buffalo?
Yeah.
Where he used to run these like basketball routes, and it needed a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick to be like, you know what, I don't care that it's not a real route and that I don't know when he's going to be open. I'm prepared to give him the leeway. Like a guy that can cross up Darrelle Revis the way he can, I'm willing to wait and just throw it to him when he's open. Most players in the NFL do not get that leeway, and most offenses can't really deal with that. Like
Right.
that's not a healthy way of running an offense. As much as it can work, and particularly when you're going up against a Rex Ryan defense with a guy like Darrelle Revis, it is a weird quirk of like, hey, this might actually be the key to unlock this specific nightmare, but it's not a healthy way of running an offense. I don't think you can really get away with that generally. So that sort of feels like where A.D. Mitchell is right now. But the physical talent, the play where he dropped the ball over the goal line is the perfect encapsulation of him right now. That is a rare play for a wide receiver. Like he showed crazy physical gifts on that play and then screwed it all up by just goofing around basically before the goal line. You're like, the important part is the first part in that there's not that many guys can do that. So
Right.
if we can get him to stop screwing it up, we've got something. But if we can't, then he's the bust that he's been so far.
So like that as a buy low for the Jets, as we've said.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.